Hey family, we're Bobby and Shira Thompson, and we want to thank you for checking out House Culture.
We are all about helping you create a healthy culture in your home, and we share our tips and tricks of some things we have learned the easy way, wisdom we have gained, and a lot of it is just growing and how we've done it wrong.
That's right. We want to see a healthy culture in every home, but the reality is there's some uncomfortable conversations that have to take place, and healthy things are usually hard. And so we want to jump right into today's episode, which is all about conflict and how to have healthy conflict. Because the reality is conflict is inevitable in every one of our relationships, whether it's our marriage, whether it's with our kids, conflict is going to happen. And so today we want to give you 3 no-nos for conflict, and we want to give you 3 yeah-yeahs for conflict.
Sounds like a grandmother's name. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially it just means 3 things you should do, 3 things you shouldn't do when it comes to having conflict. So let's jump right in. Number 1 on the no-no list. Do not do this when it comes to conflict. Number 1 is don't avoid it. Do not avoid conflict. Avoidance is oftentimes the way that many people deal with their conflict. They just go in another room or they leave the house and they just totally try to avoid. That's not going to resolve anything. When a marriage, when a relationship with a father and daughter, father and son is trying to grow, the only way is to walk those paths and get through those things. And so when we got to embrace the reality that conflict is a real thing, it's okay, it doesn't make us terrible people. And when we avoid it, what it really does is just, it postpones the ability for growth. And so even if you're having conflict and you get really mad and you walk away, don't just leave it hanging. We still have to confront it. We have to look at it and say, hey, here's what we need to do. So number 1 on the no-no list, don't avoid conflict. Number 2,
and with avoidance, a lot of that is personality. Some personalities struggle with that more than others. But number 2 is don't bring up the past for a current issue. And I heard this on the radio years ago. Lisa Turkhurst talked about taking our bitterness and our hurts and putting them in a bag and carrying them on our back. And a lot of that, we see that in a marriage relationship because we know each other so well. We know our sins and our struggles, and we have a lot of ammunition we can use on one another. But it's so important to deal with the current issue, and that is where healing is going to take place, not just a constant battle of the wills, because that's not what it's about. We have conflict because we're both sinners, but we both want to come to a healing place.
Saying things like, here we go again.
Or you always do this.
Like we have to make sure that we're not constantly bringing up the past, because we're never going to move forward if we just keep bringing up the past. So don't avoid it. Don't constantly bring up the distant past when we're in a current issue. And then number 3 on the no-no list is this. Don't fight when emotions are high.
That's hard.
Don't fight when emotions are high. Now, listen, we get it. Like, this is really difficult because usually the reason when we get into a conflict, our emotions are already high. But here's the thing we all have to understand. Our emotions are our gauges, not our guides. I hope that really makes sense to you, because our emotions, when we feel anger, when we feel frustration, that needs to be a gauge saying, wait a minute, something isn't right, not a guide. And what we normally do is we allow our emotions to guide our conversations, our talks, our habits, the things we do. But our emotions need to be a gauge to say, wait a minute, I need to press pause on this. I need to take a time out. My emotions are too high for me to respond instead of react. And so don't fight, don't have conflict, don't have arguments when emotions are high, because
I may not have done this quite a few times in our marriage. I think of one where I followed him around while he's mowing the lawn because I was so upset and I needed him to know it right then. That was early on. But I definitely followed my emotions. Not what was wise.
That was last week.
It was not.
Just kidding. All right. So those are our 3 no-nos for conflict. Now, real quick, here are 3 yeah-yeahs. We're calling these the 3 yeah-yeahs because these are 3 things that all of us should do when we are having conflict. So, number 1, stay focused on the issue, not on the person. Stay focused on the issue, not on the person. What is our tendency is to attack the person and say you and you always and you never. but the issue, it needs to be the focus of whatever it is that we're trying to. Don't attack each other with you statements. Replace those statements with feelings about the issue at hand. All right, and remember this: there is power in the words that you use. Don't tear down your spouse. Our goal is for each other to feel safe and to feel valued, not to tear each other down so that I win the argument or I win the conflict. So stay focused on the issue, not on the person. Number 2.
The next one is choose grace. And I'm going to bring up another thing that I heard a couple years ago. Holly Furtick spoke on this, and she talked about that verse in Song of Solomon about the little foxes and the little foxholes that can get in your mind. And it is choosing to believe the best, choosing to believe that your partner had the best thing in mind, choosing to believe the best in your coworkers or in your kids, not always choosing to find something to get upset about. Choose grace. And I really believe that will squelch a lot of conflicts, because they're usually so emotional. And I'm having a hard day, therefore everything he does is making me upset, when it's probably I am finding those little foxholes and those little things that I just want to get upset about. And so it's choosing to believe the best. And that's also 1 Corinthians 13, right? Love chooses to believe the best, even when you don't feel like it. Choose grace. Choose.
And we all receive grace every day from the Lord. And so isn't it our job to pay it forward? Isn't it our job to give that, especially to our family, to our spouse, to our children? And so choose grace. The goal, again, is to build each other up, to feel safe and to feel valued, not to win some kind of argument. So the third that we want to give you is this: when you have a conflict, end with an action step. When the conversation comes to a close, let's agree on some kind of action step that needs to take place to help us so that this doesn't happen again. What is something that we can agree on to get to a place? And so in that, ask yourself this question, and hopefully this will help. If someone was watching the two of you deal with conflict, what would you want them to see? So I hope that people see we're real, and that, we have conflict, but we're able to keep our emotions down. We're able to respond to one another. We're able to respect and value each other. We're able to lead with grace, but also we're able to come to some sort of conclusion where either I say I'm wrong and I'll take some steps, or you admit that you're wrong and you'll take some steps, but we're going to come to some type of agreement of an action step when this conversation's over, so that we don't have to go through this again next week. And so, man, these are so important. These are just 3 no-nos, 3 yeah-yeahs, 3 things that you need to do when conflict comes up in your life. And we just, our hope that these recommendations will minister to you and help you build a healthy culture there in your home. And so, as we always say, man, we love you guys. This project has been a blast for us. We're encouraged by all the love that we receive. And if we can help in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. But go create a healthy culture in your home this week by fighting fair. Have just a fun week of fighting fair. But our prayer for you, as always, is Numbers chapter 6, verse 24. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. God bless you. We'll see you next week.